Welcome to Jewel School. I'm Ann Dilker, and as you might know, I'm sort of the head kumihista here at Jewelry Television. And of course today I'm going to bring you Kumihimo. Kumihimo has become really, really popular, even more popular than I ever thought it would be in jewelry making. And so we've been playing around with a lot of different braid structures. And the one that we want to show you today is called the Kusari Tsunegi. You don't have to remember the name of it. All you have to do is remember that it's 8 warps and it makes a straight stitch. So the piece that's on the neck mannequin is actually the Kusari Tsunegi with tooth beads hanging down. And what you can notice from that piece is that the beads actually hang on one side. So what does that mean? If you look at this little piece that I have in my hand, there are no beads. It's just simply rat tail. But you will notice that there is one stripe of purple running down this braid, and it's running in an almost straight line. And the important part about that is this braid structure will allow you to put beads in a straight line down a braid. So that's an important thing. And what I'm going to show you today is both how to do that. I want to show you how to put beads on both sides of a straight line. And then I'm also going to show you how to put beads on both sides of a straight line and then on one of the top edges as well. So this one has beads running down the top, down the sides, and then across the top as well. And it's just all the same braid structure, it's just the way you drop the beads in. So in order to do this, what you need is a 6-inch round disc. And it's really nice to have this little template that I put together. And this is just a sticker. I've actually just pulled the back off the sticker, and I've stuck it on the back of a beadsmith board. Now, it has a 35mm hole in the center. You can put it on the old 20mm hole. It's okay. Just kind of line the hole up in the center, and then line up the lines with the slots on the numbers with the slots on the outside of the board. So that's really all you need to get started. Now, what you'll notice on this is that there's a black cross and then there's a red X. And the reason for that is when I use 2 different sizes of textiles, it gives me a visual to say that I put one size of textile on the black lines and I put the other size of the textile on the red lines. And I'm going to show you exactly what that means on this one that is set up. On this one, I've got the Eslon, which is the small blue cord, on the black lines, and on the green rat tail I have set up on the red lines. What I've done is I've put beads on 3 of them. I've actually loaded beads in the 1, 2, and 4 position. I put no beads in the 3 position. The 3 position has no beads. The rat tail, of course, has no beads on it. What happens with this braid is that each one of the sets of warps that are opposite each other have to change places. We have to give them a temporary parking space because this one, number 1, can't come right across to 2. There's already somebody in 2. So I put it on the dotted line at number 2. Number 2 then goes back to number 1. And what I'm going to do when I work number 2 is I'm going to drop a bead in the hole and then just bring it over to number 1. Number 3 is going to go to the dotted line at number 4. Number 4 is going to come back to number 3. Number 5 goes to the dotted line at number 6. Number 6 comes back to 5. And then number 7 goes to the dotted line at 8. And number 8 comes back to 7. Now that's one complete sequence right there. What you have to do, though, is bring the warps that are not at home. Anybody that's on a dotted line has to come back to its solid line number. And you'll see that it did not move around the board, and the rat tail stayed on the red lines, and the Eslon stayed on the black lines, and that's an important thing. Now, when I dropped that bead on number 2, what it did is it will give me a bead on that one edge of the braid. See how all those beads are on one edge of the braid? It's because I've only dropped them on number 2. When I drop them on number 1, it will put a bead exactly opposite on the braid. So I'm going to drop a bead on number 1 this time. I will not drop one on 2, just to show you what happens. 3 is going to go over to 4. 5 goes to 6. 6 comes back to 5. 7 goes to 8. 8 comes back to 7. Anybody on a dotted line has to go home. And let me see if this came out far enough that we can actually see what happened on that. You know what, let me pull it down a little bit. So if you can look at this now, see if we can get a shot of that. You can see that the 4 beads that I had done originally were on the number 2 side. Then when I dropped a bead on number 1, see that one that's down there on the bottom, it's closest to the board? It's like right here. That put a bead running down the other opposite outside edge, which literally, if it were big, it would look just like this. See how they got 2 big fat beads running down the outside edges? It makes this braid look flat. It's not a flat braid, it's a round braid, but you can see how by dropping beads when I'm in the 1 and the 2 position, I can get those 2 beads running down the outside edge. Okay, now let's say that I want to do this. I want to get them running down the outside edge, but I also want to get them sitting up right in the middle there. So what I'm going to do on that is, let's pull this back up, get it tight again where I was. Everybody snugged up again. All right, so now I'm going to drop a bead on when I move the 1. I'm going to drop a bead when I move the 2. That's going to put it on the 2 outside edges. Just drop it right into the hole. I don't have any beads on 3, so I'm not going to drop them there. But I do have a bead on the 4, so I'm going to drop a bead on the 4, bring it across, then 5 goes to 6, 6 comes back to 5, 7 goes to 8, 8 comes back to 7. Everybody that's on a dotted line has to go home. And what that will do is drop a bead on 3 edges. So 1, I drop a bead. 2, I drop a bead. Now, this time there's a bead on 3. Don't drop it here, because what's going to happen is that's the face of the braid that's going to sit against your wrist if it's a bracelet, and you don't want a bead on that face. So just bring 3 over. 4 doesn't have any beads on it, so bring that over. 5 goes to 6, 6 comes back to 5, 7 goes to 8, 8 comes back to 7. Everybody goes home. And it gives you, I'm going to pull it out a little bit so you can see it. It gives you that structure where you've got 1 bead sitting up on the top of the braid, and you've got 2 beads on each of the sides. So that's really all you need to do, or all you need to know in order to continue to make this braid. If you drop beads always on one number, they will come out on one edge. If you drop it on the numbers that are opposite, they're going to come out on the one edge and the edge exactly opposite that. And then to get beads on the perpendicular plane, just drop those when you're coming across. So if this sounds a little bit confusing, it does come with written, fully illustrated instructions. So between those instructions and between this video, you've got everything you need to be successful.